topic of the week pretty much is how to go from views to sales, right? We gathered some of the best content creation tips, everything from how to pretty much get the idea and set it up to what exactly to create to actually convert from sales to subscriptions, email lists, whatever you are converting to, right? So the first one actually comes from someone we've talked about several times on this podcast, which is Chris Doe.
Drop and give me 20. Okay, so that's the military exercise to say, like, if you're in good physical condition, you should be able to drop and give me 20 push-ups right now. So for people, sit down and think, what are the 20 things in my life that I know that could be valuable to somebody to the point in which they would pay me to know those things? And really sit down and work on this and write, and your first time articulating an idea should not be on camera. Really just sit down and build structure, build an outline to what it is that you want to say, find supporting information, go some research, find some quotes, and then now you've got some meat on the bones. Then put that content out there.
Okay. I really have come to believe that before you put a product out to the marketplace, before you even pick up the camera and start creating content, because I know that that seems to be the highway to success in terms of content creation because of how valuable and important it is. I think a lot of us have become, I don't want to say overlooked, but we've undermined the importance of being good at something or really being well-read, well-studied, being able to articulate ourselves incredibly well for some of these concepts. So that spot is so important. It's one of the core things that, we've been talking a lot about recently, which is go beyond the norm, and I can tell now because I've been listening to some content, and I'm grateful to be at a point where I can listen and know, and I don't know if you can ever realize this too, Nix, but you can listen to some people's content and know how long they've been in the space for. Just based on what they say, right? It's like, okay, great visuals, everything is amazing, but there's a lot of entry level delivery that lets me know you're on the right path, but you just need a little bit more work. And granted, everyone has to start somewhere, but I do believe that idea to be able to expand on the drop and give me 20 concept that he just broke down, I just think of it as having some form of multi-layered phase to communicate and teach people or just really explain this area that you specialize in. How do you explain it for beginners? And once a beginner is able to understand how to do that thing, what does the next level look like and what does the expert level look like, right? Because it should be multifaceted in a sense. So I really like this concept. Before you jump on camera, become well-read, well-researched, well-versed on the thing that you're trying to deliver to, of course, help people along the way.
That's good. So the next one comes from Brandon Carter, a famous fitness trainer who's all over YouTube at a certain point. But he talks about content creation as kind of dividing it into tasks.
Here's how you can consistently post content to make sure you make more money. So when most people do a post, they do everything at once, right? They make the content, they edit it, they write the caption, and then they post it. What you want to do is batch those tasks. This is the same tactic I use to grow my YouTube page from 0 to over 700,000 followers. So on Monday, I would film all the content for the week. Tuesday, I would edit all the content. Wednesday, I would make all the thumbnails. On Thursday, I would upload and schedule all of the videos. And I did this every week. I adopted a similar strategy when I started doing Instagram. And that's how I was able to grow my Instagram to over 700,000 followers. The benefit of doing it like this is because those are all different tasks. And when you have to switch from one task to another, you lose time. Tasks take a lot longer to accomplish. When you batch similar tasks together, start to get into a flow. You're able to get through them way quicker than if you had to switch from task to task to task.
I ain't gonna hold you. I think that's genius. I never thought of it in that kind of way. The way that I do things is like I'll have an idea and then I'll create it real quick. And at the same time that I'm creating, I'm thinking the captions, I'm about to post it, distribute. So I'm doing everything all at once. And I never thought about, of course, we hear about batching content. I think that part was very obvious, but batching the titles, batching the artwork that goes with it, batching the captions and the video descriptions, and then batching the scheduling out. That is something that I never really even explored until watching that. And I was just like, yo, that actually makes a lot of sense and could probably allow your brain to just think in a more focused way. Like I know right now, all I got to worry about is talking to this camera. That's it. I don't got to worry about nothing else about the creative process. Cool. I just got to worry about the thumbnails. I don't have to worry about the edit of the videos right now. I don't have to worry about the written part. So I think this is something that we should at least explore to see if this could work for us. Some people are the all-in-one situation, and if that works out perfect for you, cool. But especially in the beginning, and if you get overwhelmed and haven't been consistent on a regular basis, this may be a system that you should try to see if, hey, this is going to allow me the freedom to think of new ideas, the freedom to go scale my business because I'm not concentrating on everything of the creative process all at once. I'm able to do other things. So I really like what Brandon said on that one. But let's get into the third tip, right? And the third tip comes from, I think his name is Stephen G. Pope. Stephen G. Pope, talking about, now we're getting into the details of what exactly to put into your content so it can convert.
People do like how-to information, but what they really care more about is, do you know where they want to go? Can you show some expertise or some knowledge that you understand that person and where they're at? Do you use the same language they do? These are all things that are helping build trust for them to even entertain the process of listening to you in the first place. And then displaying some of that empathy and authority that you're an expert. And only then will they really listen to the how-to information. But they really don't care so much about that. That will then further solidify whether they want to work with you or not. But that's how you have to think about it. You have to give somebody a specific action that's going to alleviate some pain they have and develop the story such that they even believe that you're the one to give them that advice.
So here we're seeing the transition of going from just general content to now introducing a little bit of the selling, right? And you're realizing the importance of not just introducing yourself without having to formally introduce yourself, right? When people look at your social media, obviously they know your name. And so I've always found that to be an interesting way how some people can master it and some people almost completely avoid it and can butcher it from time to time. So when he's talking about, really showing that you know the person that you're talking to, right? It's that understanding of the audience, their needs, their desires and pain points. That's that first connection layer that someone's going to listen to and say, okay, you got my attention because why? You're speaking my language. And so that's the first almost foundational element to now wanting to set yourself up to introduce a solution. Now, notice he downplays the how-to a little bit because while how-to content is helpful, and if it's not, I don't want to say a very specialized part, or there's some parts of how-to that are standard across many different industries. And so when you talk about why someone is going to want to work with you versus work with someone else, it's because of those other elements that are included in the content or yourself. It could be your personality style. It could be any other element that is going to help push that. So it's funny, we've had to walk some people off the ledge and saying, okay, you're saying all the politically correct things. And guess what? They sound great. Can't take that away from you. But you know what it also sounds like? Very robotic and unrelatable. And so I know that we think that we want to have the perfect pitch or the perfect content because that's what's going to help us, say, convert and get more sales. But in reality, I find it crazy that so many of us want perfection, but we don't relate with perfection. Think about it. Very few of us say, man, I relate with this person because they're so perfect. They've had the perfect upbringing. They wear the perfect clothes all the time. They say all of the perfect things. Yeah, you might maybe admire someone like that, but you're not necessarily, say, pushed to action by someone like that, right? We especially in today's marketplace are connecting with people who are a lot more real and raw and relatable to us. So this is the part where I say, yes, have your how-to content and all of these structured elements ready to go, but don't mute some of the unique parts of you that really help people to say, okay, this is why I actually like this person, even if they don't know why. That part is equally as important. And then the last thing, of course, and I think this is super important too, which is speaking with authority. You can play back and listen to your own content or your own stuff on video or audio and just listen to some of the words that you use. If you're using words that seem as though you're guessing, I talked about a little bit about this last week when I talked about this is why I'm grateful for the podcast, because it helped me to eliminate that. And I've become aware of the fact that, oh, you use a lot of those unsure, wishy-washy kind of words. You want to satisfy everybody. Wipe that away. Just stand on what you believe and go. So that's another place to look for, but also a way to practice it is literally just listen back to yourself and try to get a lot of that language out, because it's more of a language thing than anything else.
That's so good. So the next tip actually comes from Shopify. Shopify has been dropping some cool tips if y'all caught it, but we got one for you.
Second tip, you're gonna make a sandwich. You're gonna format your content like this. Content, call to action, content. Who remembers TV? That was literally a content marketing sandwich at its finest. It was like television, commercial, back to the television program, and people came to watch the content and got sold to in the meantime, right?
So this goes towards something that even Gary Vee talks about, which is, jab, jab, right hook, right? You don't, however you want to go about it. In this video, they talk about pretty much value, sale, value, right? Gary Vee will talk about jab, jab, right hook. So that's value, sales, right? The important part that you're getting out of this is you don't want to only sell. I was actually on Content Corner. I go live every Wednesday on Instagram Live, right? And somebody was like, yo, look at my page. And when I looked at their page, it was all sales flyers or them talking about the actual business, where I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, I don't know what you do. Like, I think this person was like an adjuster. I don't know what an adjuster is for me to even know if could be your client or not. I'm not really sure. Or there's not necessarily information that can even make me curious to even want that.
Right.
And that's where content comes in, because content is just telling the story about why we need it. Not what it is and what it can do for me. It's more of the story of why I need this.
Right.
Why does this add value into my life? I don't necessarily care what you've done, all your accolades, that's cool. And to some that builds credibility, but that can't be every single one of your posts. Add value, do a call to action. Post value. Hey, deeper than the brand. Post value. Hey, flight assessment and stream execution. You could clearly see that we are trying to give you information that is beneficial for you, but we're also trying to make you aware of all the stuff that we have going on, because it is still the business. It's still, we still got to sell certain things here and there. With your content, find a healthy balance of how do I still add value to my audience and to my future customers and clients, but then as well as inform them and direct them to where they need to go for the transformation that my brand does. That's what I say.
That's good. That's good.
Now I do got a bonus one that I kind of want both of us to talk about. We can't talk about content without I brought up Gary Vee already once, but I found this part that really goes based off what content we should be creating. And sometimes we've already done it, but we probably just overlooked it. So this is what he said about this.
What I really want for all of you is to get to the content that does well to inform your content going forward. So I'm less worried about how well each individual piece goes for all of you. I want you to take more at-bats to be better at it. So right now what's happening is too many people are trying to be cute and like higher quality, less quantity, deep down because it's easier, because it's work, it's hard. You got other things, I get it. I'm not judging, but I'm trying to tell everybody, you're all trying to get better at tennis. And if you practice 5 days a week instead of 3 days a week, you'll be better at tennis in 24 months. One of the things I'm concerned about is when people go with that model is they're not doing enough pieces of content to figure out the thing that's gonna work.
So one, the going back, especially to analytics and find out what exactly works, sometimes is the exact thing you don't want to do again. Of course, so I agree with him. Go back. Your whole blueprint is in your analytics. It's stuff you've already done. But we think that we always have to create something new, so we don't really go back and check it. But if we was to just check it, it literally tells us your audience likes this. The platform actually gives you more exposure when you do this, right? And of course, not exactly in that plain text, but you will see by numbers of what works and what doesn't. So Moose, I actually want to go to you with this because it's like you've done content for a bit, and there's probably stuff that if you go in your analytics would be like screaming, "This worked!" And you're like, "I understand that. However, I don't see this working in this season." So, like, how do you battle with the information? Because if this was a regular business, you would go based off the facts of this works. We're going to continue to do what this works. Why is it different when it comes to a creative product like media?
Yeah, I mean, and I think the part that Gary Vee is talking to is being able to develop the skill that allows you to reproduce what works consistently for a time being, right? Or not for a time being, but consistently over time. Versus, okay, this works and I'm going to wait a little bit and bring something and try something and okay, that works, right? It's that scattered greatness rather than consistently being great. And so that I know.
First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Right? That was a bar. What'd you say?
Yeah, I mean, scattered greatness versus being consistently great over time. That's what I feel he was talking to there when he says, posting less, but with greater quality versus everything I post is great quality, right? Mm-hmm. It's like quality in quantity. It's like you're breaking the code, right? That's ultimately the thing that everyone is up against. So I think to break the matrix in that sense is super powerful. But quite honestly, I have not let that stop me. I've gone back, especially as I have gotten more comfortable on camera and with the platforms and engaging with my audience. I've talked a lot, especially over the last 6 weeks or so, that I have for a long time engaged with social media through the second part of that word, or that second part of the phrase, which is media. Yes, I've engaged by posting videos and photos and content, but I have not been social on social media. And so now I make it way more of a goal of mine to interact. I know how I feel when I get comments. I know how I feel when I get engagement and interaction, or that quote unquote social aspect of my content. So I try to recreate that for somebody else, because I feel like, and again, shout out to Daryl, man, because I really have paid attention to that. He might have, I don't even know if he realized how impactful that point that he made was when he said, best practices no longer work when everyone starts to do them. They don't have or deliver the same effect anymore because everyone's doing them. And so when there's competition in the marketplace around something that everyone's running to, it doesn't hit the same. So I have really paid attention to that. And I know a lot of us are advised to comment on everyone or respond to everyone who comments to us because it's great engagement. But it's really beneficial for you as a creator when you do it on your own post. But when you go to somebody else's post and you comment on their post, because you genuinely connect with the content or you support the message and what they're doing, it breaks the mold, right? It engages just an organic social factor. So that's the part that I have been doing. But all of that to say, I have gone back and reposted the exact content, stuff that works. Like my most viewed video ever on Instagram, I think it got somewhere north of this is my, I guess, my quote unquote viral moment. It got somewhere in the vicinity of like 400,000 views. I might have posted it probably 11 or 12 months ago. Just recently, about 3 weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bring this one back. You'd be surprised. It did the exact same thing. It did major numbers, the same exact clip. It was like I changed nothing, but maybe I believe I changed the filter and I changed the way the captions came up on the video. That was the only thing I changed. Everything else was almost exactly the same. And it did very similar numbers. So I have done that part. I'm curious your take though, because I guess I want to know, are you saying, hey, go back and just repost the content that has performed? Or are you saying go back and study the content that has performed and think about how to recreate more of that same content? I guess you're saying the latter, right?
I think a little bit of both. I do believe sometimes just straight up reposting still works. I do it myself. But I do believe the content format and the topics is already in our analytics based off what we've done in the past that we should look into and be like, okay, how do I maximize this even more? How can I milk this out even more? So normally when we're talking about creating content, it is based off our audience pain points that we're talking about. So for me, if I was talking about, let's say, introverts not liking creating videos, they don't like to be in front of the camera. So I can see that the 2 videos that I did talk about that, they did great. Did I cover all the solutions to that problem? Is there different ways that people see that problem as? Maybe not as direct as I said it, or maybe they think video is king right now and that's all everybody is doing, but they can't find a consistent flow of doing videos. Come to find out, they don't necessarily like doing videos because they don't like being in front of the camera because they're not that type. So I'm just wording it a different way, finding out different trigger words to get their attention. And I just have to go, okay, boom, my audience responds to this topic. My audience responds to that topic. My audience loves reels. My audience, like for the podcast right now, our audience loves carousels. Now we know that. I could go about a different topic, but I could do it in a carousel. I can talk about for introverts, but I could talk about it in just a different way or just show them an example of what to do to create videos without being in front of the camera. It's really, for me, a little bit of both to really like leverage all the data that has been collected.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I have to try that because, you know, I just translated that into one piece of your content that performed really well may have been talking about, like you said, introverts afraid to get in front of the camera. And so you gave them one strategy for being able to build confidence on camera. But maybe you have 5 strategies overall for doing that. So going back and give them strategy number 2 and 3 and so on. So I haven't done that. I haven't gone back and looked at performance and recreated based on that. I have just simply reposted, but that's good. I'm going to do it. So I'm hoping some of y'all listen do too, man. You know what I'm saying? That's good.
Yay! So you let us know if these content tips has helped to go from views to sales.